I'm walking down into the woods of my property, where the deer and the antelope play, where lions and tigers and bears, oh my. This is my little corner of the earth. And what a time that we're having. I just wanted to talk to my friends and relatives and anybody that will listen, to take this moment in time fully knowledgeable and conscious about what's at stake. Yeah, I was born in the Second World, the end of Second World War, in the middle of a bombing in Budapest, and I lived through a revolution, and I lived through the revolution of the '60s in New York City. After yeah, and I was in the evolution of the village scene, Greenwich Village, and the time transference onto Soho. That real evolutionary time in not only in every level of the arts, music, dance, romance. I was fortunate to be on the corner of Bleecker Street and McDougal and Bleecker. And I was fortunate enough to start an underground theater, underground of the Open Mind bookstore. And very fortunate to have been at that time in all those places where I've been, including my birth and the Second World War, bombs, the revolution, and witnessing what I witnessed of humanity and how they behave with each other. And and how the behavior continued on after the wars, and the contamination of the consciousness and the human heart, the human connection, our humanitarianism, our humanity has been so much under assault. So, being a veteran of all of those assaults, never dealing them out, but always witnessing it. And I guess I wasn't just a witness, I was also a participant in the changing of the way we look at things. I've committed myself to it. Committed myself to be a master of my own mind and master of my own heart mind. That's a whole other story. There's actually an organization called the Heart Mind Institute in San Francisco, and it's physiological, scientific proof of the changes that we're all going through. and the changes that we must find a way to direct ourselves towards in terms of our actions, our behavior, not only to each other, but actually starting with ourselves, how we treat ourselves. So this is the point where we are. We have to really look at ourselves as objectively as possible and ask yourself, what am I doing? Who am I? Who is the I I'm talking about that's doing? And don't we owe it to ourselves and our children and everything is to attempt to get out of this mess that we're finding ourselves in? I guess if you don't think that we're in a mess, then what can I say? All this conflict, all this taking up arms against your brethren, and the intolerance that we have towards any kind of differentiation just because you're different from me, you know. The funny thing is, I've always felt different. My entire life, I felt different. But I never looked at it as a bad or good. It's just I felt different, and and difference was good. I mean, wow, that's how we learn from the differences, you know. And then, of course, you choose. You choose what's best for all concerned. How do I respond? How do I direct my thinking towards the good of all? And the good of all does not exclude oneself. It includes oneself as well. You're part of the all. And any division there is your creation. So you're part of it all. So you got to be inclusive in terms of seeing us as a whole, as humanity, as a group, because of all these subdivisions that have, forever been fighting, it's no solution. Fighting has never, it hasn't created peace yet. War does not create peace. And in all these wars on everything does not create peace. And that mentality, very basically, go read Tolstoy's War and Peace, but just there has always been war or peace, but now we've come to a point where our human collective consciousness allows us to really come together in the consciousness sphere of things. Just look at it like radio waves, just look at it like all kinds of waves that travel through not only the air, but through the universe, all kinds of energy. And some we can catch it on the tube, and some we can catch it on the radio wave. But others are transmitted. You can call it subliminally only because people aren't aware that they're receiving them. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, or it just is. That's what's going on. It's all about how oneself becomes aware of one's own consciousness so that one can observe oneself. Otherwise you can't. Everything is you're pointing out and you think, and it doesn't work. And so this is where we are. Right now, because there are all kinds of factions that are at war with information. There are certain big categories, but hiding under the different titles, conspiracy theories, blah blah blah, all kinds of theories. And the reality is that there are just so many stories that it's probably best to be able to rely on your own powers of reception of these energetic forces that are going through the airwaves. And I was just listening to the 60s, the movement, the music, and the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer, it has always been blowing in the wind. It's just not a way people imagine what wind is or wind does. But everyone knows it's windy. Okay, so there's a song for everything. But, and I'm smiling because basically I'm just into the joy of living. Joy of living. The French will say joie de vivre. But not in any limited way. If you might limit it to, Chevalier and the French Riviera and just being joyful and that, well, that's fine. That's one thing. But I'm talking about the real innate joy of being alive, of my own life. So what I call it is waking up to my own consciousness. And that happened a long time ago. And of course, there's always more to wake up to, because this consciousness expanding just shed light on a bigger picture than what we're used to. So I'm sharing this because it's not religious, it's not political, it's not any of those things. Those things are just all other segments and other ways of dividing people. And there's many of them. Many. I mean, these little groups and categories, and you're against that, and your shirts and the skins, and who knows. I mean, it goes. It's all it is. It's like it's time to really have a reunion. Well, I don't know about reunion, because I don't know if we were ever really united. But perhaps a revisiting of our union. How about that? A revoir of our reunion. Yes, this is a call for our union. And as I've celebrated my 60th high school reunion of 1962, and of course it was mostly about soccer, because we were state champions that year. And then the high schools was changed, so we were old school. As soon as we graduated, we were so anyway. But they got around to recognize us and to induct us into the Hall of Fame, the entire soccer team. And so it's kind of an interesting moment, because these 6 decades that have gone by since then there have been so much happening in terms of our social structure, of humanity's evolution. And shifts are going on major right now all over the world. And in very surprising ways, some places sometimes. But so these are really explosive times. And the explosion takes place in that undercurrent of the energy flow of life. It's a life energy flow. And music is just one way to give it a higher sound, to hear it. And because all those expressions, musical expressions, have a basis of immense essential truth in its reality. And its commonality, and how it brings people back into the same wave. So, all right. So I hope you get my drift. My my drift. I hope you get the wave of my essential place in my heart that that I wanted to share with you is because I think we could all meet in that place of the heart where we just really dedicate ourselves to treating each other like real brethren. Not just in any kind of a religious tone, or just that we are all life. We're part of all life. So, namaste, which means the divine in me sees the divine in you. And wishing you the aloha spirit. Aloha spirit, the Hawaiian aloha spirit, is about being in joy and being in a celebration of this oneness of it all. Otherwise, ciao.